Welcome to the Magnet Pool, where we dive into Miami-Dade's most innovative and exciting magnet programs that truly makes Miami-Dade County Public Schools your best choice in education. I am your host, LaRonda Donaldson, District Director in the Office of Innovation and Advancement. And today we are highlighting two schools that are redefining what makes STEAM education at the K-8 level so special. Francis S. Tucker, located in the heart of Coconut Grove, is a STArts program that integrates STEAM with dance and kinetic movements. Also today we have Bowman Doolin K-8 Center, which implements the STArts2 program, a music production program with a strong focus on access and inclusion for all students. Joining us today is Jose Herrera, Magnet Lead Teacher at Francis S. Tucker, and Amanda Macias, Magnet Lead Teacher at Bowman Doolin. Welcome to the Magnet Pool today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so excited
All right.
to be here.
So today we're just going to focus on these two schools. They are MSAP-funded schools, STARTS and START2, and they are both STEAM and STEM focused. Both are K-8 centers, yet each has a unique lens that defines its identity. So, for Francis S. Tucker, for families that's hearing about the STARTS programs for the first time, what exactly is the program and how does it integrate STEAM with dance and kinetic movements?
So I would say for families that are not familiar with the STARTS program at Tucker, one of the things I want them to know is that we're not just a STEM program. We are what I like to call a fully integrated STEAM learning experience. So rather than just having students learn STEM and dance separately, we blend them into a unified, cohesive whole, a unified, cohesive learning experience where the students are applying their critical thinking skills and their creativity at the same time in all their classes. So, for instance, when it comes to our curriculum, our students are learning robotics, they're learning dance, they're learning science and dance. And what they're doing is in all the different classes, they are applying what they've learned. For instance, let's say I have students learn about force and motion. They're not just learning about force and motion from a textbook. They're actually applying it, physically experiencing it. For instance, in dance, they might be modeling a choreography. And then from there, in their robotics class, they're applying what they have learned in dance by, for instance, using concepts like spatial awareness, using concepts like timing and sequencing to build and code robots. So for instance, in one of our robotics classes for middle school, our students actually programmed robots to dance. And what they did was they took the concepts that they learned in their dance classes and they applied it to their robotics class. Mm-hmm. And we also see that a lot with our kinetics classes as well. We have students learn about the joints. We have students learn about how muscles generate force. And from there, what they're doing is they're applying what they've learned about the human body, and they are creating different assistive devices. And beyond engagement, I would say that we are also preparing our students for future careers, specifically in environmental, marine, and space science. Mm-hmm. We want to have our students build the academic foundations, the technical skills, and the confidence they need to be successful in their careers in the future.
Yeah, you mentioned some good careers, but let's not forget those that are interested in sports medicine as well.
Yes.
You know, the kinetics really ties into that. That is awesome. And now let's talk to you, Miss Macias. How are you?
Good.
Good. So at Bowman, listen, I love Bowman. Bowman is a jewel. Talk to me about what makes the artistic focus such a powerful vehicle for STEAM at Bowman.
Well, at Bowman, really, the digital music component of it really is the hook. We get the kids at such a young age, and we really want them to be, inspired and really want to stay in the program because it is such an amazing program. Really, our teachers are phenomenal, our community is phenomenal, and once we get the kids hooked, they're excited about the music, and in your school, in your case, the dance. Once you're there, then you could teach them, and you could really get to the core on why and how something is done. And when that why and how is activated or they're learned, creativity and engagement it just skyrockets.
Definitely. Can you tell us just a little bit about how digital music production connects to STEAM, in ways that's authentic?
Yeah, of course. So if you walk into the classroom, you see kids on the tracks and playing the instruments. And from an outside perspective, that's super cool. You see the kids with the instruments even at a young age. Since we are K through 8, it starts at kindergarten and then goes all the way to 8th grade. But if you really sit down and if you really get to the nitty gritty of it, you see the kids collaborating in areas that they might not have the chance to if it wasn't for our program. You see them testing variables, control aspects of things, continuing the trial and error process with the engineering. They start something and they see how they could revise it, whether it's music, whether it's our experimental science kids, whether it's our robotics kids. All of these classes, they have the same kind of concepts, and it's so cool to see that the kids can translate it from a music class to a science class to a reading class to the core subjects to the electives. And you give a kid a spoon and I swear they can make a whole orchestra with just a spoon because they are so creative, and you really see it through these magnets.
So let's talk about our families. Let's paint a picture just for our families, right? For those visual learners, right?
Yes.
So let's paint a picture. If they actually walked onto your campuses, what would they see? So at Tucker, students are exploring kinetic movement through dance, through robots. What does that look like in action?
So at Tucker, when we say that our students are exploring kinetics through robotics and dance, we actually mean that they are truly experiencing science in motion. For instance, like I said, students are coding robots that learn how to dance. They are building assistive devices after they've learned what they learned about in the human body. And they're able to do this because we have specialized rooms. These are STEM labs, these are dance rooms that are built with the intention to fully integrate our curriculum. So to talk a little bit about our rooms, we have 2 state-of-the-art dance studios, and these dance studios are where students focus on their technique, where they focus on their timing and sequencing, their spatial awareness. We have a fully functional gym that functions as our kinetics lab. And then we have 3 different STEM labs, each of which houses different grade levels. And there the students are doing robotics, they're coding, they're applying the engineering design process. And our little ones are applying inquiry-based learning in those classrooms. And so what makes our program unique is how we combine those spaces how we integrate those spaces, I should say. So again, in a STEM lab, the students might be coding, or they might be building an arcade-style engineering project where they're applying things that they learned in electrical engineering, like circuitry. In dance, they are not only learning how to dance, they're also applying a little bit of geometry, talking about different angles with dance, talking about timing intervals. And then with kinetics, they're also measuring the velocity between marked distances. They can also be measuring potential and kinetic energy as they're jumping and changing elevation. So we do have a lot of spaces where our students are combining what they learn in different classes in those spaces.
Awesome. And so to you, Ms. Macias, I know we have spoke that Bowman has digital music production, right? But what is that? Can you just tell
Yeah.
me a little bit? It's more than just creating songs,
Yes.
right? So can you just tell me a little bit about the learning that really takes place beneath the surface of that?
Of course. Well, with digital music production, I always tell when I have a tour or any parents that are new to it, I show them the examples of the famous, pop stars that we have now and how their music comes to be, because it's not just playing the instruments, recording it and putting it into a system. It's actually learning the system, learning the techniques, learning the applications on how everything works together and how everything can and form this beautiful piece that the kids do. For example, the students were tasked with our Halloween events, and they were tasked to do spooky sounds. And the way they did it, they had no instruments. That was a task. No instruments, figure out how to make spooky sounds. And with our lovely partnerships that we have, Music First, they have this really cool program that they actually can put any sound into the application and mess around with like the levels, the frequencies, all of that, and you see the kids stomping on the ground, crushing the leaves and everything. They're recording that, and then you hear the track that they made and you're like, those were leaves. It's phenomenal. And just like how he was saying, everything is connected, everything has a purpose. Whether you're in one class to the other, everything translates to each other. So if you're doing a lesson on rocks, let's say in your science class, a basic lesson on rocks, well, in the music class, they'll get the rocks and they'll see how they can make the different sounds and talk about those sound waves and how those little waves, if you move it this way or if you push it this way, how that becomes different. And it's really,
That's what really excites students,
Yes.
and make learning so meaningful. So we've talked about the arts, but both of you mentioned STEM labs. What happens in a STEM lab? Like, what is a STEM lab?
yeah.
I don't know. So tell me, what is a STEM lab? What do you do in there?
It's exactly what it sounds like. The kids are actually able to hands-on learn about the concepts that they're doing, whereas in a traditional classroom, they might have like little projects here and there, but in a STEM lab, they actually have the whole room to learn about the simple lab procedures and the simple scientific inquiry that they could put in. Like if they see this project's here, they see something over there, they could grab something and push it over here. And if the other team is working on something else, they could go over there and ask them for their opinion. It's just a space where they can freely become scientists. And it really is an area where they do flourish in that sense.
And one of the greatest things I would say that they do in those STEM labs is collaborate. And that is a very important skill that we all need to build,
Yes.
Especially as scientists. It's something that scientists do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
They work in groups. They have to learn how to work well with one another, communicate with one another. And from a very early age, from kindergarten, our students are already working in a group setting, building different projects and collaborating with one another.
So have you guys noticed any changes in like student confidence
Yes.
or
Oh, yes.
engagement
Yeah.
or
Oh, yeah.
achievement?
And like you
Yes.
said,
Yeah.
we're K through 8. We start that confidence, we start that build right there in the kindergarten classroom. And you see those kids who've been with us since kindergarten to 8th grade, you see that confidence grow. You see that oh, I know, I got this. The more of a specialized thought into what they're doing, not just to get the A in the class, but they're actually understanding and they're able to lead these discussions that even the kid who's not into science is the one that's leading the discussion without even knowing it. And it's amazing.
That it is clear that the schools are not just about electives. That is clear. That they're more about immersive, hands-on pathways. And so both of your schools are K-8 centers, as we've mentioned. And that brings a unique advantage because you have the kids from from kindergarten all the way to 8th grade. They leave you to go to high school. So you have time to build those pathways, not just for a few years, but quite a long time. So you see those students grow. So at Bowman, I have a question. Bowman is known for its all-access approach. What does that mean, and how does the STArts2 School support that? We talk about all-inclusive, all students. What does that mean?
Well, at Bowman, we believe innovation doesn't matter unless everyone has access to it. Just because someone thinks that they can't do something, having that access and having them, the students, the ability to try, it makes the whole thing come together. You know, the innovation is there, the support is there because we're there. We're constantly telling them, you know, you could do it, you could do it. And then the creativity flourishes because of that. And the pathways are endless because of it too. You have kids maybe at a kindergarten level saying I love music, but then you hear them in second grade and they're like, oh, I want to be an audio tech engineer. You know, they know the specifics because they got that practice, and it's access to all, and we mean that all of our kids have the same access that, you know, that is granted, of course, that if I could do it, you could do it. If you could do it, you probably could do it better than me, and we work together and learn.
So what you're saying to me is that if a student has a IEP or individualized educational plan, they can still attend Bowman.
Oh, yes.
And have access to the magnet program?
Of course. IEPs don't stop you from the magnet. They actually just help you. You kind of have just a little bit of a different curving than everybody else, but you're still in the same section. You just might have a differentiated pacing, which at the end of the day isn't so different from the other kids, because it's just, if you get your project, you have your project, you get it done, right? And then the gen ed population with our ESE and our ELLs, they all work together. They're all learning this common goal of how to work with different types of people. And in life, that's how it is. When they grow older, you're going to work with different types of people.
Wow, so they get a chance to experience those recording booths that you guys have.
Yes.
Those that's very innovative. I love the recording booths.
Yes, they're fun.
That's super fun. I like to see the kids inside them. So Tucker, Mr. Herrera, let's talk about what does the pathway look like from elementary to middle school at Tucker and ultimately into high school? I know you briefly touched on some of the careers they can have, but what does it look like? Do they start out in kindergarten with just dancing, or is there a pathway in which they transition to more difficult techniques? Talk to me a little bit more about that.
Sure. So on top of the regular science that they receive in class, our students, not only at our school, but at Bowman as well, receive extra science enrichment classes in our STEM labs starting in kindergarten. The whole idea, at least at the elementary school level, is to kind of get their feet wet with different fields of science, specifically environmental, marine, and space science. So what we've done, and I'm pretty sure Bowman does the same thing, is we have broken up those themes into different grade levels. So, for instance, kinder and first are exposed mainly to environmental science in the STEM labs. Second and third are exposed to marine science. And then fourth and fifth are exposed to space science. And so the whole idea there is to give kids an idea of, well, I really like science. What is it I can actually what is it I'm actually interested in, and what does it take for me to be good in this field? Just speaking from personal experience, when I used to teach biology in high school, I had a lot of students who would come up to me and they would tell me, oh, I adore science, I love science, and I really want to be a doctor, or I really want to be a nurse. But rarely did I hear any student tell me, oh, I really want to go into research, I want to be a research scientist in cancer biology, marine science. It was very rare. So what I like about our program is we're able to give kids an idea of what it takes to do research in different fields of science, and in fields of science that are going to be in demand in the future from a very early age. And then on top of that, we also have dance classes that our kids are taking from kinder through fifth grades. In kinder and first, they're really just learning a lot about their body, how to move their bodies. And beginning in second grade is when we start to teach them different dance techniques. So we'll have the students learn a little bit of ballet, tap, and jazz, and that'll continue all the way to fifth grade. And then in middle school, the students are able to continue with dance, and they're really honing in their skills, not only for performances and showcases, but also to build a dance portfolio that they can then showcase to all of these competitive arts high schools.
And you guys are having a performance coming up this week, right?
Yes, we have a Black History Month show coming up tomorrow, actually. Yes.
Sanctuary of the
We actually
Arts.
had ours today, and
Oh,
okay.
what's so awesome is with the STArts program, you can be guaranteed that your kid, whichever school that you choose, because obviously we have our own specialities. Like we have the digital music production, you have the dance. It really is a common theme for both. You know, that elementary setting is a very learn the scientific inquiry, and it's not necessarily just a science class. It's just learn the process of what it is to, you know, open something up and learn about it. And then to the middle school, getting that honing in that and the portfolios, like you said. Yeah, our kids have portfolios from kindergarten to 8th grade, which looks amazing for high school, but for college, the growth that they have, it is very sought out, and it's amazing that our kids get to do that.
so how are you seeing, speaking of growth, right?
Yes.
How are you seeing your population growing at the schools, you know, from the time you started the program till today? Is there an increase in student interest, or are students leaving? Like, what's really happening with student population there?
So what I always say, our program gets the people in, but what really holds us is our community, and I think that's why we have such a good stand with our numbers, and with our enrollment, and with our growth in our school in general, because the kids end up staying and the parents end up staying because of the sense of community that we have grown and that we have done and that we still continue to work on, because we're not perfect, you know, but we are. Our look into it is if it's good, it's going to happen regardless. So let's just grow the community so everyone has a chance to be part of this, because it is an amazing program, you know. So
I would say for us, I've noticed quite a few changes in our kids in terms of growth. One of them, like we talked about earlier, is student confidence.
yes.
Our students are able to get up in front of an audience and not only perform dance, but also just talk about whatever it is they've designed in their engineering classes or the lab investigations they've conducted. For instance, just a few weeks ago, we had Fairchild come for a symposium that we held for our 4th and 5th graders. They were part of a very special, I might add, experiment that is exclusive only to the START schools, the pre-GBE program, which is Growing Beyond Earth, but it's pre because we're doing it for elementary, which is not something you see in other elementary schools in the county. And there the students were able to grow herbs and other vegetables in a growth chamber to see which one, if any, the astronauts can grow up in space. And what I liked about that was we had people from Fairchild. These are professionals in environmental science, in plant biology. They came and they watched these kids talk about their results to them. And they were blown away by our students.
And you could let the kids lead the classes
Exactly,
too.
yeah.
That's what's
They're
amazing.
very confident.
And it's elementary. Like we have for middle school, we have the actual Growing Beyond project that they're doing, and they're calculating data and they're sending it to NASA, which is I think even cooler, because the kids are actually speaking with NASA at such a small age that it's like wow, you know. But yeah, these kids are leading these discussions, and we with Fairchild, we also did the million. I always like to say $1 million, but it's Million Orchid. I wish, no, but Million Orchid project. And our fabulous science teacher, she connected our 3rd graders and she made them like junior botanists with the senior botanists, and the senior botanists showed them how they did everything. They cleaned the table, they sprayed themselves with alcohol, they put the gloves on, they showed the kids, explained to them what the little chambers were. I can't even do it. They run circles around me, but it's just, you're seeing that and you're like, wow.
So I know that you have been at Tucker since the beginning of this MSAT program, actually. So tell me, what is it like? What has it been like watching these programs grow at your school? You know, from day one to now. Like, talk to me about the evolution of these programs, and like, what's the feeling to see it actually evolve?
So the transformation, I would say, has been phenomenal. In terms of the physical spaces, in terms of the students and their confidence and their ability to identify themselves as scientists, as engineers, as dancers. This is something that when I first walked into Tucker a few years back, I didn't really see a lot of that with our students. They were very shy. They were hesitant to talk about science, to talk about math. And now I see a completely different mindset with these kids. So over time, I would say that there's been a huge transformation in our students. They come up and tell me, oh, I see myself as an engineer. I see myself being able to dance. I never knew I could dance until I had this opportunity.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they have the equipment, the partnerships, so
Yes.
they see real life examples of these jobs that they can have. The other day we went to Biscayne Bay and we actually did a water testing treatment, the solubility, the clarity, and everything. The kids actually saw what the scientists do to actually measure that, and then it's like, I even heard the kids saying, "Oh, I would love to do this thing on a boat and doing all the water things," and it's just exposure really is the key to
That
it.
is truly, and it's just great. We could go on and on and on about these programs because they're just that great for students and for the community as well. But we always end our show with one question, right? And because every program has that special spark that draws students and families in, the question that I have for you is, what is your magnet pull? At Bowman, what is your magnet pull? What makes your program the best choice for students and families?
Yeah, the open possibility, the endless possibilities of what these kids can do, and the exposure now before hitting that college level aspect, and having them understand that, okay, I do like science, but I do like the research part, and if I do research, I can do this, and the pathway is set at an early age, right? And for Bowman, we are a family. Bowman Ashdoolin, we are a family. We pride ourselves in our community and our partnerships and all that we do. And I, like you said, I could talk your ear off about this, but I like to tell my families, come and see it for yourself.
Yes.
Come to our school, reach out to us, and just be a part of the magic.
And at Tucker, what's Tucker's magnet pull?
So at our school, we combine a lot of rigor. We combine access to technology and to STEM resources that our students would otherwise have, and we have a huge sense of community. So our students are programming and learning how to code, they're learning how to dance, they're getting exposure to all these different science careers, while at the same time, because we're a K-8 center, building a sense of community, a sense of family with the teachers, with their peers. And I would say the fact that we're a K-8 center also helps us nurture those skills over time. Yes. So our kids really do grow into the STArts program while they're there.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us today on the Magnet Pool. We really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing how the STARTS and STARTS programs are transforming STEAM education through movement, music, innovation, and access. Really appreciate you. And I also want to give a big thank you to our listeners and viewers, as well as Miami Community News, for their partnerships in bringing stories of our schools to the community through its platform. For those families listening, while the Magnet application deadline is currently closed, notifications will be released on March 15th, so stick around, be vigilant, looking in your emails. They're coming out March 15th. Families can stay connected and never miss an opportunity by following us on social media at MiamiMagnets.com. That is it for this episode of the Magnet Pool. Keep being drawn to what inspires you, and we'll see you next time.